It's his big teammate.
Alan!
It's Alanzq. He's back on Ezreal, as always, looking to win his third best of on the Legend. Didn't quite get there in Lille, but has been looking very good. So that's going to be our matchup. Ezreal versus Draven. A Draven play we've actually seen on stream already as well. In Lille, it was 51%. In Atlanta, it is 48%. That is absurdly good, I have to feel like.
It's interesting because both are very close to 50%. It's probably overall what the matchup is in general. But what this statistic doesn't take into account is Alan. I know that Alan is far greater than 50% in these matchups.
Certainly at this game in general, it feels like. So Alanzq still in the running, has one loss and a draw. So still live for top 8, have to imagine. And Caera, a player we saw on Draven earlier, just not quite get over the line against Kaiser, who was at least coming into this round our only undefeated, one of 2 undefeated players to play with a draw, the no losses.
Yeah.
It keeps getting me. But our first place player on Kaiser did defeat this Draven on stream. So we'll see who's going to end up with only a single loss in their column after this round. It is 9-1-1 versus 10-1 the records. It is Climb versus Arena's Greatest, and Draven is going first. Draven, got to feel good about that.
Yeah, and of course this was the player that was part of that exchange where we saw all 6 Ferris Forerunners on the battlefield.
Oh, yes.
Again,
that will not happen.
Our Kai'Sa player did take that home, and you are correct, it will not happen in this game, but we do have, as you pointed out, the greatest going into the climb, so it's going to be a standard still 8 points to win. You need 9 total to win, but because you're both starting at 1, you just have to somehow score 8. So kind of negating the benefit of the climb with the Arena's Greatest.
Yep, don't get tricked, chat. There are 1s on screen from the Arena's Greatest, but we're still looking for 9, even though it's the same number of total points as a regulation game. Pouty Poro going to rock on in and take a point off of the Arena's Greatest, and Pouty Poro the second is going to join Noxus Hopeful the first, as they look to maybe assault the Aspirant's Climb in the following turns. And this is the thing we know about Alan's deck. It is a little slower, a little more controlling, very tricksy, very powerful when he can amass resources and keep the card flow going, which is something Ezreal's Legend ability is awfully good at doing.
Yeah, and right now I was going to say I think we're just going to see some development of some might. There's not really many options that are going to deal with these Poros effectively that you want to use at this state. This is, in my opinion, kind of a nightmare start for Alan, simply because those Poros, while they're just 2 might, they do have deflect. That deflect is sometimes relevant, and against a deck like Ezreal, where you want to do a bunch of targeting, paying for that and de-ramping down those runes is going to be potentially relevant. Hopeful as well with that 4 might is sometimes a little bit harder to take out. There's a lot of things that only deal 3. We are in game 3, so we don't know if maybe rocket barrages come in, but that would have to have targeted in the base. I feel like Hopeful is going to be making its way to a battlefield soon.
I think the other thing to think about is, like, macro matchup wise, Draven obviously wants to be the aggressor in this game. Can be, go a bit bigger, but Alanzq isn't really concerned about the size or the width of your units at all. Alan, I think, is one of the few decks in Riftbound that could win when your opponent is at, 7 or 8 points. 1 point away from winning. Ezreal can hold down the fort long enough to win from 0. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and certainly this start looks very good for Draven. Overzealous fan joining Pouty Poro on the top side, and 1 unit going back as it's 4 points now for our Draven player. But this is the kind of thing Alan is used to. Maybe doesn't like exactly how it's going in terms of the tempo of the game, but Ezreal is a deck that can grind you out.
This might be the sort of game where Alan falls incredibly far behind, but gets back into it off of the back of like a Watcher Bellows combo. That is something that has really risen in popularity, but we haven't seen a lot on broadcast this weekend. However, when your opponent goes so wide, there's not many other tools to catch back up. Alan, I don't believe, is running Unchecked Power. That's just not his style, has not been in any of his previous lists. So Wages, buying some time, Card Sharp getting some points is okay. Unless Alan can come up with a big answer for all of this might, though, I don't know how you get back into this.
There's something somewhere. It's just kind of a matter of when. So holding up some runes, but feels logical at least to go away from the card shop that's occupying the Aspirant's Climb. And again, to remind you all, we've talked a lot about winning in 2s, and 6 is usually the point we want to look for, because that is where you can potentially look to score twice and win. 6 in this game is going to be 7, thanks to Aspirant's Climb. Yep, thanks, Charmer. We didn't catch that on the broadcast. We could all imagine in your mind's eye what just happened. Gust, Wages of Pain. I can see those 3 cards at least in Alan's hand. Pouty Poro going to move on in. And even a Gust here, which isn't a bad answer, trying to maybe move something off the board. Boy, oh boy, is it annoying to Gust a Pouty Poro thanks to that deflect.
Yeah, again, the deflect is very meaningful and annoying. I think that's why this is the go-to additional 2-drop, right? You've got the Tide Turners, they have that utility. You've got the Overzealous Fans, they have that utility. Earlier we were talking about just 2-drops that you're okay with also drawing in the late game. And Poro, because of that deflect, can sometimes come up big. And especially as a Draven player, if you're expecting mirrors and you get to a situation where your opponent is playing Falling Stars and or Rebukes, and now they're also paying deflect costs, it can be a very big deal.
How much is Bellows plus, Repeat Bellows plus Watcher?
Repeat Bellows? That would be 11.
11.
Likely 10. It is worth noting that Ezreal does reduce the additional costs, and Alan will likely play that ahead of time if that's going to be the case. But we are going to see a Mind Splitter get rid of that Ride the Wind from Caera.
Well, this is interesting because that is the last card in Draven's hand. Mind Splitter does actually reinforce the Aspirant's Climb, gets a point for Alan, goes up to 3. Doesn't leave too many options available, but again, Alan happy to grind out the game. Draven's come out of the gates very quickly, racking up points. Now going to go to 6 off this hold, but currently cannot topple the Mind Splitter with the 6 might in base. I just have to feel like Alan is very patiently building up to a turn where he can turn the corner. But Caera, such a good top deck, accelerating in, going to get a card draw, going to get 2 if he win the combat, and Stupefy going to try and shrink the units here, and I think find Alan yet another answer. And there's the Gust, pops the Hopeful up, it's now small enough to get moved back to hand, and Mindsplit is going to win the day effortlessly.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful exchange there for Alan. The Defy into the Gust, and specifically on the Hopeful, because you don't want the Caera to go back to hand. You want to get rid of that. You maintain the point hold. You slow down your opponent. Caera just answers with playing a huge Draven because of Climb.
Yeah, that one does not lose to Watcher's Repeated Bellows. It's a little too big even for that little combination. But Rebuke's in Alan's deck. Smokescreen I can see in hand. Alan has so many cards, and Draven is out. This is a very classic kind of aggro versus control matchup. Not necessarily what these decks always want to do, but I think in this particular matchup, that is how it is going to present itself. So Ezreal out of the Chosen Champ soon. Going to discard a card and draw 2 more. Alan has a huge bit of card advantage. Is that enough to overcome the points disadvantage?
I think you've misspoken because you just said Draven is out of cards, and I've been assured that that doesn't happen. So,
are you sure?
but it does happen when you just continue to vomit out these cheap units. Again, you had all these 2-drops. You had the Hopefuls, which are essentially 2-drops. We are going to see the Bellows. We were talking about that coming down. The damage being done, and then the card shark going in is just going to kind of recreate a miniature Watcher Bellows combo.
So now it's just the Draven, who I will remind you is 9 might right now, and gets even a little bit of a bonus might thanks to Aspirant's Climb being the battlefield in this game, because you get more points than you typically would in a normal game of Riftbound. But that is big enough to topple the Mind Splitter, but Alan just has so many cards in hand. I mean, I did say this is a game where Alan could potentially win from 0, and it's not 0 right now, but it's starting to feel like Alan has completely turned the corner. He has cleared the board, all but 1 unit and the top of Draven's deck.
We'll see what this top deck is. If it's another Caera, this would have been a beautiful opportunity to go up in some points and draw some additional cards. That's going to be the big story here. You want to try to get to at least 7 because, again, Aspirant's Climb, 7 is the new 6. And then you can go from 7 to 9 in a double conquer, but does not want to leave the Draven alone on a battlefield, so just passes, and this is Alan's window of opportunity to close the point gap.
I see a Fizz in hand as well. I see a huge trash stocked full of spells that Fizz can try and go for again. Mindsplit going to move in onto Arena's Greatest, go to point number 5 again. Alan not really concerned with the speed of his getting his points. He'll get them eventually. But card trap going to come down, reinforce. That's 10 might now, enough to best the Draven face up, as it is only a 9 with those 6 points that Caera has. Gold going to be generated. No gold given back. Again, card trap does give your opponent the option to make a gold, and if they do, you get an extra one. And I don't think I want to give Alanzq any extra resources in just about any game of Riftbound I might find myself against. And Ezreal is going to join the party as well. Just say that's good enough. I've got, again, about 8 cards in my hand. What do you have? Because you did not play the one you drew.
And it also makes sense that you would always want to deny the gold generation to Alan, because if you're already playing units with deflect, you're trying to make sure that your opponent has to spend more resources on your stuff. You don't want to give them free ways to get around cards like Pouty Poro. Draven does go up to 7 here, and then we have a fan to back it up.
I can tell you that the fan is not going to do very much, because there are so many ways for Alanzq to kill Overzeal's fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I respect the fan, but you've already seen gusts and things like that.
Seen Wages of Pain.
You've seen Wages of
Bell's
Pain.
Breath.
There's a bunch of those in hand. Singularity.
No.
This is going to be massive because the 6 damage, while not killing the Draven, will put it in danger of being destroyed. And earlier I was saying, you know, you might need something like a Watcher's Bellows Breath to clean everything up.
That is so clean.
It turns out a mini Bellows Breath combo followed by a Singularity to clean things up gets the job done as well.
As soon as you see that Singularity, your heart sinks, because you know Alan is not playing this card targeting your 10 might unit if there is not a follow-up. And that, I think, is going to be the straw that breaks this Draven's back. Mindsplitter going to chill there at the arena's greatest. Alan going to retreat his other units. And again, the point lead is in the favor of the player you'd expect. It is up to Draven, but I think this game is out of reach. I'm also pretty confident that one of the cards he drew is a cleave, and that does not do anything if you don't have any units. And you can see Draven players laughing in the player cam.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what the other card is, but this is a situation where if one thing just would have went the other way, right? When that top-decked Caera went in, expecting to go over that battlefield, get an additional point, but also get the draw, game would have been completely different. However, now, as a Draven player, you're in a position where you have no cards in hand almost. You've been struggling to draw. Apparently no units to develop either.
Oh, it's happening again. What do you got, Mindsplitter? Scoop of shame? Nope, show him off. It's Darius and a Tide Turner. I think Darius is probably the first one because he couldn't do anything with the Darius, and the Tide Turner is not going to do much of anything. Alan, 1 point away from winning. Card trap goes in. All we do is have to hold, and there's one draw off the top of the deck to see if it's it. Flips over the X, flips over the Tide Turner, and shakes the hand. Alanzq still live for top 8, 10-1 and 1 with a masterclass in Ezreal versus Draven.
So the thing that I really like about that particular matchup is that Alan was patient, knew how to resource manage against Draven, avoided the combats, got them to run out of cards, but also very effectively played around the way that Caera could have got back into the game. Specifically, when we saw that Darius, I was starting to wonder if maybe what the game plan was waiting for something like a Darius plus Caera combo where you just double accelerate, catch Alan off guard if he somehow pulls back or leaves not enough might on a spot. Yes, there was the Mind Splitter for most of that, but there was still, I think, a path. Alan just did a great job of shutting any opportunity down and locked in the win.
That's why he loves this deck. He believes that this is a deck where you have enough time, have enough space, you do enough practice, you can answer just about any problem someone can throw at you in Riftbound, and you have to do a lot of reps to get to that level of mastery, and Alan clearly has on Ezreal. I do want to think, though, I'm going to have to scrub back the footage because I just thought of something that might have been a mistake. I can't remember if he ever activated his legend. He must have.
Why?
He must have. What do you mean, why? Is there a hand size limit in Riftbound?
That's so Alan. If he actually never activated it, but he had the opportunity, like with the
Bellows Breath was at least the only one I could think of. I was like, oh, there wasn't any other opportunities.
That's the most Alan thing that you could possibly do. This card doesn't need text. I just want to play the Ezreal and the champ zone.
We'll check the tapes, but if that is true, that is all right. So we are going to go down to the desk because Barrett is standing by with someone you may all know and love. Yeah, let's check out Barrett and Casanova.